can catch it, match it, stash it in the cabinet. Listen to the chorus while let Ivan scratch it. This is real hip hop, we aiming for a classic. And if we can't approach it, screw it, we'll attack it. Catch it, match it, stash it in the cabinet. Listen to the chorus while let Ivan. This is real hip hop, we aiming for a classic. And if we can't approach it, screw it, we'll attack it. And it's no secret, when life gets hectic, I take some time out to reminisce.
Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to the Retro Wrestling Review Series. Now, as you should see, we have new music for the intro because the other music that we used was copyrighted, so we had to get rid of it. I don't know what the new music's going to be because I'm recording this before I'm seeing the intro. But if you can't tell from the intro, I'm going to say it again. I'm Owen Finch, and I'm here with...
Chris.
Actually, did you see the picture that was picked for you in the intro? It's like your first Instagram post where you turned 21 and went...
Yeah, it's weird.
It's kind of weird. I was even saying, let's see if he approves of that photo because, But we even said, there's not a lot of pictures of just you solo on camp, in a photo. It's all either with your family or with celebrities and stuff. So we had to, we had to work with what we had.
I'm a popular person.
Yeah, I know. But let's get to the Retro Wrestling Review Series. Today, or whenever you see this, we're reviewing WWF SmackDown, August 9th, 2001. This was your pick. We decided to do past SmackDowns because SmackDown's going to Fox next week, next Friday. So that's pretty damn exciting. Is next week too the 20th anniversary of SmackDown, or is that a different week?
I don't think it's the 20th anniversary. Unless they would have announced. I think it is actually.
Okay.
It might be. They haven't announced. They haven't hyped it up.
Yeah. Which is kind of weird. I mean, I guess they wouldn't. Because it's on the same day that SmackDown is on Fox, so they had to kind of cross promote. But yeah. Do you want to say why you picked this show, or do you want to wait until we actually get to that part of the show?
Yeah, let's wait to get there.
Yeah, because usually I have people say it in the beginning, but
my reason why I picked it is one of the last things on the show.
Yeah, so I don't want to go through it. I will say though, let's kind of go through this time period because this was a very interesting period in the WWF. So pretty much, they were the only big time wrestling promotion in the world, pretty much, because WCW and ECW had just went out of business earlier in the year, right before WrestleMania, pretty much, because WCW just had their last show, and because ECW had gone out of business before that. It was just basically being funded by WWF, but they stayed on the air until right around that period. So pretty much Vince bought out his competition. And why this is important is because of what was going on around this time of year. Vince tried to make WCW a weekly show. He tried to put it on in the last match of the main event of Monday Night Raw, and it got crapped on because it was in a WWF city and no one cared about WCW. So he basically had to send out his guys to beat the shit out of everybody.
And plus, the match sucked.
Yeah, I actually haven't watched the match, but I hear it's not that bad. It's just ruined by the crowd.
Well, Buff Bagwell's not very good either.
Yeah. So then, pretty much they decided to do that invasion angle, and let's put it in mind, the invasion angle. That's something that everybody had fantasized about in WWF. The biggest example I could come up with is that this would be since it's kind of, even though it's not as big as WCW, but if WWE and AEW right now had an invasion angle, or WWE and TNA from back in like TNA's hottest periods. You know, pretty much everyone, but this was like even bigger than that. Like it's not even imaginable because WCW had pretty much been in business like since the early like 1970s with Jim Crockett, and then it got turned into WCW, and basically it was basically everyone wanted to see the big stars. They wanted to see, you know, like Stone Cold Steve Austin versus like Hulk Hogan, the NWO invade Monday Night Raw, Ric Flair, since he was like a big WCW legend, Stin, because everyone had wanted Stin around this time frame to come to WWE because he was Mr. WCW. Basically Goldberg, the who's who of WCW. However, there was a problem with that. Basically, AOL had owned all of the top stars' WCW contracts, and they basically were like so expensive to buy out that they just sat out their contracts. So basically, WWF really didn't have a lot of talent to work with. It was basically like the lower mid card guys like Lance Storm, Canyon, and
DDP.
you know, DDP. Even though DDP wasn't like DDP and Booker T were like the biggest main eventers that they could get pretty much.
Yeah.
Which, you know,
just that buyout between AOL and Time Warner.
Yeah, but that wasn't the only reason that this invasion angle sucked. Pretty much, it's all that thing where Vince McMahon just, when it comes to, he just couldn't accept the victory. He had to let his ego show. Because pretty much WCW pretty much got booked like shit during this invasion angle.
100%.
So, it really didn't work. Then they were really stupid and turned Stone Cold Steve Austin heel at WrestleMania 17, and it looked like he was going to go face and fight with WWF, but then he ended up joining WCW in the alliance. Because when people think WCW, they think of the guy that basically helped WWF win the war, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Or best known as, you know, when he was stunning Steve Austin in WCW. Which was absolutely stupid. But, you know,
Kurt Angle too also.
Yep, Kurt Angle later on in the year.
Joining the alliance for no fucking reason because they needed star power.
And then we found out that it was just a setup so that way, you know, he was infiltrated and was working with the WWF, so he was supposed to be a face, but then the next night he was a heel and then Austin was a face somehow. Like,
and Ric Flair showed up.
And then the NWO didn't show up until like No Way Out 2002. Goldberg didn't show up until 2003. And then Stin didn't show up until you know, 2014. And I want to point this out. This invasion angle is like one of the main reasons it took so long for Stin to go to WWE. Let's point that out because that's the whole reason Stin wouldn't go, because he didn't like the way like the WCW guys were being used. This invasion angle is like Exhibit A of that. And it's like it's not like one of those Exhibit A's where it's like small. It's like the Exhibit A is like 23 pages long. You know, so, and obviously too, we would find out like Stin made the right decision by not going with the way he was used later when he actually showed up. So
he wanted to become like basically like a face of the company for TNA.
Yeah. So yeah, pretty much the invasion angle sucked. And pretty much we could talk about like how we could rebook it, but this isn't the video for that. Pretty much just go watch, even though like it's controversial, go watch What Cultures, how WWE should have booked the invasion angle, both parts. And basically, that's how you do it, pretty much. So there's that. But let's talk about. But I will say that's why it's hard to get into shows around this time period, because it's during that period of that crappy invasion angle storyline.
Yeah.
So pretty much from like, you know, I would say like after WrestleMania 17 until Survivor Series is pretty much WWE is still profitable. It's but it's like in the midst of like one of the biggest storyline bombs in the company's history. It probably is the biggest storyline bomb, honestly, in the company.
Yeah.
History.
But it could also too, weirdly enough, it could afford something like that
Yeah,
because there was no competition.
exactly. So this was like the first time like WWF could basically do whatever they wanted, pretty much,
and get away with it. Fans weren't going to.
And this is probably why WCW and the ECW going out of business was one of the worst things to happen to the WWE in itself. Even though they won the war, they basically didn't give a shit to do. They basically just did whatever they wanted to do.
ECW wasn't really competition towards WWE.
Yeah, so I guess we could say WCW.
It's weird because they had like an alliance.
Yeah.
They were like very friendly. Vince and Paul Heyman were extremely friendly with each other in the 90s.
Yep.
And to the point where Vince was actually funding the company.
Yep.
He paid them for Too Cold Scorpio and a bunch of others. Like Rob Van Dam, he was in WWF for like a little bit in the 97, 98 range.
Yep.
They paid him for that too.
And since you're talking about that, what side was ECW on doing this storyline?
The not WWF side.
There you go.
Again, they served no purpose in this storyline because they were like an ally to the WWF, pretty much.
Which is weird. Because when people think, I mean, it really doesn't make any sense anyway. Like, RVD makes sense, but like the Dudley Boys were in WWF for a good good 3 years before before like WCW and ECW even died anyways. Like
they went to the WWF in like 99.
Yeah, so
late 98, like early 99.
Yeah. So that doesn't make any sense. So yeah, let's talk about this, and let's also talk about like one of the I want to just talk about this because who knows when we'll ever get a chance to talk about this storyline ever again. One big flaw of the Invasion Angle storyline is it was just a McMahon storyline because Stephanie McMahon and Shane McMahon owned the Alliance and Vince McMahon owned WWF, so it was just basically McMahon versus McMahon storyline all over again, and we have and we still get that today pretty much.
For the most part, yeah.
I mean, obviously too, we forgot one big component they were missing is obviously too Eric Bischoff from this storyline.
Oh yeah, yep. They have Paul Heyman, but not Bischoff.
Yeah. But yeah, let's talk about
would come into the WWE a year after this.
Pretty much. I think he came in like 2000. He came in 2002, like roughly around WrestleMania 18 to be the GM of Raw.
Yeah.
So yeah, but let's talk about the actual show itself in context. So we had the commentary team of Taz and Michael Cole. This is pretty much when Taz was being phased out of in-ring competition because he basically couldn't wrestle anymore because he had so many neck issues and stuff like that. And it's very interesting because Taz was siding with the Alliance, which that makes sense because ECW's in it. But like we said, we talked about like ECW should be in the WWF side, but we already talked about that. And it's very interesting to see like Michael Cole like in fairly his early stages of commentary, like how young he looked back then and all that type of stuff. So that's pretty cool. As for where they are today, obviously Taz and Michael Cole pretty much became the commentary like team.
Long time.
Yep.
For a long time.
Till like 2006, because then Taz, when ECW revamped, went to ECW to do the commentary. And then he left WWE in 2009. And Michael Cole pretty much is like the main play-by-play guy for WWE. He's been that way since like 2008, I would say. Maybe.
Yeah, when he went to Raw.
Yeah. But he was like a main play-by-play for SmackDown, and then he went to Raw, and he's basically like the main play-by-play guy. So there you go. So then the Alliance is backstage, and Stone Cold Steve Austin is giving them a pep talk, saying that I'm gonna represent you guys. He basically talks about how he made an example out of Matt Hardy and Lita when he beat the shit out of him on Raw the previous like episode. and he said that he's going to do the same thing when him and the Dudley Boys take on Kurt Angle and the Hardy Boys. Pretty damn good promo. Like I said, it's hard to get into it because this is Austin at his heel work, and obviously we've talked about how we feel about that. But it's really cool because he's like rallying up the troops of the alliance. So there's that. What do you think of this?
I thought it was okay. I mean,
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of funny how he was on a fucking table,
Yep.
just standing there giving his speech. But
Yep.
it's fine.
Then we had the first match. Then we had the first match on the show. It was a WWF Tag Team Championship match. WWF Tag Team Champions, the APA versus Chris Kanyon, who better than Kanyon, and Diamond Dallas Page. Let's talk about too. We didn't talk about even they had Diamond Dallas Page, and you think they're gonna do something big with them, and they just made him a stalker to the Undertaker's wife.
Yep.
So that just shows you how like they dropped the ball with DDP because you think that what DDP. He was such a big star in WCW. He just wasn't in WWF. He was like upper mid card at most. Solid match here. The APA get the advantage early, and eventually Kanyon and DDP get pissed off, and they get into a brawl. And eventually the referee has trouble getting control of it, and behind the referee's back, they hit a back suplex neckbreaker combination on Farouk, and they get the heat on Farouk for a little bit, and then Bradshaw gets the hot tag, and he hits an awesome clothesline, which will later be known as his clothesline from hell, and they're on the verge of getting the victory, and you could just see how stiff, by the way, Bradshaw was in this match alone. Like, he was stiff.
Oh, yeah.
He gets a really cool fall-away slam, and then from the crowd, Tess comes out. He takes out Farouk, and he helps DDP and Kanyon win the WWF Tag Team titles. I forget how they won, actually. It was some type of double team move.
I think Tess did a boot.
Huh?
I think Tess did a big boot.
Yeah. And they won the WWF Tag Team Championships, which I guess made sense. It's getting the WWF titles on the WCW. So there's that. But like again, you think WCW, you think Test, right?
Yep. 100%.
And this is, I guess, when Test turned on WWF, and I don't think it was ever explained why he did. So there's that. A lot of people thought saw a main event in Test. I didn't. I personally didn't see it. He was just bland as hell. He reminds me of a certain someone that was soft that thought the same thing. It was big.
Big C.
Yeah, Big C. But yeah, that's basically that. I gave the match was decent. I gave it 2 3/4. And then as for World of War today, obviously the APA became a tag team up until 2004. Yeah, 2004. And then Bradshaw went on to change his gimmick.
During the brand split.
Huh?
They were split up during the brand split too.
Yep. And Bradshaw went on to you never would have thought 3 years later Bradshaw would become WWE champion. Never would have thought that. And pretty much he was like the longest champion. Now he's the second longest champion in SmackDown history. He was until last year. And then he pretty much went on to have U.S. title reigns, and then he retired and went on commentary for a period of time, and then he randomly went back to the ring just for like a year and lost the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania, and now he's basically, he came back in 2012 as like the heel commentator role, and now basically he's just a part-time commentator as of 2018. 2017 actually. So there's that. And then Farouk just became known as one word after this. Damn. That's all that needs to be said. And then Chris Kanyon didn't last much longer in WWF. He was basically gone because he got hurt. And then Paul Heyman tried to use him as like a weird apology angle for the Undertaker, and Undertaker just beat the crap out of him. And then pretty much he went on to wrestle, and he passed away in 2010 via, I think, suicide.
He killed himself.
And then Test, unfortunately, is dead too.
Same thing.
Yep. He was in the company until like 2007. He went to TNA for like a year and then passed away shortly after that. And then DDP lasted in the company until WrestleMania 18. And then he basically just makes part-time appearances. He's a producer for AEW now, which is funny. And basically, without DDP, half of the wrestlers that are still alive wouldn't be. Well, I say half, like two of them we know. Two big icons are still alive. He saved, Scott Hall's life, and he saved many other wrestlers' lives.
Nick Roberts.
Yep, using DDP yoga. So there's that. Any additional thoughts you have about this match?
It was okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nothing special.
Yep. Then the Walk arrives. I thought something was going to happen, but nothing happened. He just showed up. But there's more on that later. Then it shows Arnold Schwarzenegger in the crowd. I thought this was the show where we did something. Like he beat the crap out of somebody, but I guess that's a different show.
Yeah. I think it was a same year or a year earlier.
Yeah.
He like hit Triple H with the title belt or something like that, or Vince.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So I shouldn't have known that it wasn't because Triple H was hurt around this time. So, I thought it was so I thought he did something on this show. Obviously, we know who Arnold Schwarzenegger is today. He was like the biggest actor at the time, so don't need to say anything more about that. You get to talk about this wonderful match right here, and the story behind it. Perry Saturn versus Raven with Terry ringside.
This match sucked.
Yep.
Perry Saturn won with the Moth cover 3 handle Femmer Gradunzel, and he had Moppy with him.
Yep.
Gimmick where he carried a fucking mop around with him.
Yep.
And
this was punishment for stiffing a wrestler. Pretty much.
It's true. And he looks in the corner and Moppy's gone.
Yep.
And then he fucking searches all around for Moppy.
Yep.
He can't find Moppy. He's losing his mind. And then Terry says something like about the mop. I forget what it was.
Yeah.
And then he gets the police involved.
Oh my god! Yeah.
For some reason, for a missing persons report.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny. And he doesn't find Moppy.
Yeah, it's like you gotta wait till Raw. I mean, I bet those people back then, were just itching to find out what happened to Moppy. They were itching. Although, as much as this gimmick is crap, this actually was pretty goddamn funny.
It was very entertaining.
One thing. Yeah, the match was so bad. So there was a botch in it where Raven was supposed to Irish whip Perry Saturn like into the corner where Moppy was, but he went to the wrong corner. I don't know if that was a botch or not, or if they just.
It was.
Yeah, so that was pretty damn bad. And then pretty much I like the sketch where he's looking around for Moppy. He goes into William Regal's office and he spits into his like tea. And when he was like looking through the dumpster for it, he like finds another one and he just instantly knows that it's not Moppy. Because Moppy has like that face on it, so this one didn't have one. And when he got the police involved, that was hilarious. I even loved like how he's like, wait a minute, you're telling me that one of the police officers, who was probably an indie wrestler, was like, you're telling me that you sent us down here just for a mop. And I like how they like pretend like they're gonna look for him. And Barry said like, thank you so much for like looking. I was hoping they were gonna do a thing where like he walked away and either like because he gave him like a picture, like they were gonna like tear the picture up and say we're not gonna find, we're not looking, or like they were just gonna like laugh at him when he walked away or something like that, like.
Or just do like they're walking back to the police car and they just throw it up in the air.
Yeah, right. But this was pretty damn awesome stuff. Like pretty entertaining. Kind of sucks for Perry Saturn though. He really could have had like a really decent career, but of course, I bet like if you go back in time, we could just tell him, do not stiff this wrestler because you're gonna be in love with a mop. Sucks for Raven. Raven was being used like trash.
he was awful in WWE.
Yeah, he was out of shape pretty much.
Oh, very out of shape.
And yeah, he was. He got to be like what, a 22-time hardcore champion.
Yep.
And someone might be beating his record of that with the 24/7 championship. So
Maybe.
I mean, he's not. He's not going to hold that title. It looks like for a little while though. But then anyhow, yeah. As for where they are, Perry Saturn. I actually forgot to look up where he is, but I think he's wrestling the Indies still. But
he had a serious incident happen to him too.
Yeah, and he actually was part
shot
of
in the back when he was trying to prevent shot in the neck or something like that. Like when he was trying to prevent a rape from happening, and he went missing for years. He was addicted to drugs, and he finally reemerged a few years back, and he's been wrestling again ever since then.
And we find out like he was just recently in 2016 part of a lawsuit against WWE because of their custom protocols. And then Raven is still alive. He had a pretty crappy run in TNA where he was out of shape. Like you thought he was out of shape then, like in 2001. Picture what he was like in 2010. Like it was bad. Terry is pretty much like phased out of wrestling. Pretty much, we've only seen her like really once. She left in like 2002 or something, and yeah, she's married to Dustin Reynolds. You could obviously tell that because of the last name that she has. I like how she could use like the real Rhodes last name, but no one else can. Like,
yeah,
it's like funny like how Brandy Rhodes can use the Rhodes last name, but like Cody and Dustin can't. It's like, you know, that's WWE like really getting one over on Cody and Dustin because they're letting Brandy use it, but not them. Like,
not them. You can't use it.
And I love too the way they get around it is anytime they just have Brandy Rhodes accompany them ringside and they'll just do it that way. It's like,
yeah,
it's pretty damn great. This match gets a star though.
Same. Yeah, I give it a half a star.
So then Chris Kanyon, Diamond Dallas Page, and Testa backstage, and they're basically gonna go celebrate. Chuck Palumbo, and Sean O'Hare come up, and they want to like represent WCW since they're like the WCW Tag Team Champions, which I don't even think was true. They weren't even like the last WCW Tag Team Champions, like when it folded, so that makes no sense. So yeah, but pretty much pretty much though they didn't. I don't think they had. I should actually look up. Well, I'm just gonna look up real quick who actually were like the last in like WCW, the last WCW Tag Team Champions. Because that's pretty damn important to know. If they, because there's no way in real life they were like the last WCW would have put the tag titles on them. They're a fine team.
They didn't have anyone else either.
Yeah. Okay. So the last WCW Tag Team Champions, when WCW folded, was no, actually, it was them.
It was January 4th. Sean O'Hare. That is right. Yeah.
They were the Natural Born Thrillers, January 14th, 2001. So they actually were. But you know, so there you go. This is why we got the internet for. But anyhow, so they want to represent WCW, and we're gonna find out later on in this show. It's like the worst mistake they could have made, but we'll get into that later. So then William Regal comes up, and this was when he was in his commissioner role, and you think he was great. You think he's great as the GM in, you know, WWF, but he was actually pretty damn awesome here because he was like so over the top about it and stuff, and you could just see like him being just being a GM just fits him so well. He makes a steel cage match for the WWF Tag Team titles between DDP and Chris Kanyon versus the Brothers of Destruction. So there's that. Because this was when, you know, they were further in the feud between DDP and The Undertaker. And DDP was like being squashed and like losing all his credibility. Because he got like jobbed out on like what, invasion to The Undertaker, pretty much. And then, you know, pretty much somehow Chris Canyon and Kane got involved. Like,
I don't know how.
yeah, it was weird. Like I said, it's WWF doing the invasion angle. You gotta kind of. But this backstage segment was. Oh, and the test actually says that I called this out. They're gonna go celebrate, which is a strip club at like Vipers, and there's a certain Viper that's there today that makes it even funnier. So,
Got celebrated Randy Orton's.
yeah, but I think like they actually went to because Randy Orton probably was like actually he was fairly young too. He was like 20 like in his 20s, like early 20s around this time. Um, and he did a lot of celebrating with them. I mean, funny thing is too, I think later on, like Tess was dating Stacey Killer, Randy Orton took his girlfriend from him too. So, you know, um, then David Arquette's in the crowd, and this is funny because they reference him, but remember that WCW made him like the WCW champion, so it's funny. And he still he came back and wrestled like one more match recently. So at a house.
He's been wrestling actually frequently, David Arquette.
Yeah. Then Molly Holly, Spike Dudley, and Tajiri backstage, and X-Pac comes in. Who's the WCW light heavyweight champion. Or was he he was the cruiserweight champion.
No, he was the X-Pac?
Yeah, he was the cruiserweight champion.
Yeah.
And what was weird is we didn't know, but he talks about how Tajiri stole like the light heavyweight championship from him, but he didn't have the title. Tajiri didn't have the title with him, when he had it. But I guess he meant like he actually like won the title from him. But like I said, this is why you have to like show off your titles because we didn't know what the hell he was talking about. And pretty much X-Pac challenges William Regal and Tajiri to a tag match with him teaming up with Albert because they were the X Factor at the time. But William Regal, wants to remain neutral. He's not really much of an in-ring competitor. And so Spike Dudley offers to take his place instead. This was a nice backstage segment because William Regal was just like I said, William Regal in these commissioner GM roles is just money. So
that's hilarious.
And then we would find out he was just working with WCW all along. So even though William Regal, even though he was in WCW, he was in WWF, like the last one. And the last episode of Nitro, he shit on WCW all over WCW, if you remember. So that makes no sense. So then we had probably the best match on the I think the best match on the show. It was a hardcore championship match. Hardcore champion Rob Van Dam versus Edge. The hardcore championship. Even though the 27 rule was suspended, they had to be defended on every show. So Rob Van Dam had just won the championship from Jeff Hardy at Invasion, and he was having a match with Edge. And Edge was breaking out pretty much around this time in his singles run. Him and Christian were on the verge of breaking up, and he was being built to have. What's up? Did you say something?
No, I didn't say anything.
Oh, Edge, was also in position to have a feud with Lance Storm for the Intercontinental Championship, and Lance Storm was obviously too a member of the Alliance. And this match I thought was pretty good. Edge and Rob Van Dam really went back and forth. Edge throws RVD out of the ring. RVD hits a wicked, flip dive, drop kick on the outside, and then he hits a wicked flip dive right into the crowd on Edge. And since it's a hardcore title match, hardcore rules apply, so falls count anywhere. RVD tries to pin him outside, and he doesn't get it. I like how the referee would always have the title around him in case the guy won. That was pretty good.
No, yeah. So, it makes sense if you're going to have the title and run.
I know, right? So then Edge hits a wicked big boot when RVD tried to come into the ring, or into the back from the crowd. He grabs a ladder. He hits RVD in the ribs with it. RVD slingshots Edge into the ladder. And he covers him, and Edge kicks out. And You know, the match is going back and forth. RVD hits a wicked spin kick, and Edge is on the verge of winning pretty much, but Lance Storm runs out, and he pulls Edge out of the ring. He tries to throw him into the barricade, but Edge reverses it, and it's pretty much a 2-on-1 handicap match at this point. Edge is doing the best he can to fight him off. He actually, RVD tries to put in a chair, but Edge sees it coming. Edge hits a spear off the chair onto Lance Storm, which is interesting because this wasn't his finisher at the time. It was more of a signature. Yeah. And he tries to hit the revamped, which is like the execution that we know is today, that jumping DDT. But RVD hits a wicked spin kick, and then RVD and Lance Storm hit the concerto, and not the concerto you know as today, where Edge like would have the opponent laying face down on the mat onto a chair, and he would hit you right in the back of the head with a chair. This is when you would stand up, and they would just sandwich you right in the head with a steel chair. And obviously they had to stop. Huh?
It's like they sandwiched him.
Yep.
2 chairs, bam.
And then RVD obviously pinned him in one because you're not kicking out of like 2 steel chairs hit right in the side of your head.
He should have kicked out.
And RVD won, and they were kind of building up that storyline with Christian because Christian didn't come out and save Edge because the Christian hadn't turned on him yet.
It was coming up.
That. Huh?
It was coming up after this.
Yep. So then, RVD won, but this was a pretty good hardcore championship match. I gave it 3 1/4. The only flaw of it is it should have gone longer. I would have taken out like if Perry Saturn versus Raven and just added that time to this match because I think the match would have been like 3 1/2 had that happened. But yeah, pretty damn good. It's really crazy just because to see RVD as a heel because he was like never a heel in WWE, and to see he really wasn't a heel either. He was just kind of neutral.
He's neutral. Yeah.
Even though he was like siding with the Alliance, he was kind of neutral. And it's really crazy because 5 years later in the main event of Vengeance 2006 for the WWE title, RVD was the WWE champion and the ECW champion, going up against Edge, and it's really interesting like how the roles were reversed and how like they progressed as characters where Edge was like that ultimate opportunist heel and RVD was like someone you never thought would have made it to like the main event level like in WWE. So that was pretty damn cool. But obviously too what happened after this is Edge would go on to actually beat Lance Storm for the Intercontinental Championship, and then Edge and Christian broke up, which will lead to like their classic feud with Edge and Christian having the match at Unforgiven, where Christian won the title, and then they had that ladder match at No Mercy. It just sucks though that like it had to, like I said, all these feuds are good, but it had to be like in that shit invasion angle because when you think WCW, you think Christian. So just saying. And then pretty much they went on to pretty much. I mean, remember this too? They used to tell us that Edge and Christian were brothers.
I know, yeah, that's hilarious.
So that was hilarious because pretty much once the internet broke out, they realized they couldn't fool anyone with that, and pretty much because Christian cut his hair, pretty much. So that was pretty damn funny. Because I remember, I think they have a segment together, like kind of like a little after they broke up when Christian had his hair cut, and they basically had to like say they weren't brothers. Like it was just a rumor or something, which was weird. I guess they themselves are spreading that rumor. So that's pretty damn funny. And obviously too, Edge went on to have like a very awesome singles career. He pretty much like has done it all he did it all in the company. So there's that. Whereas Christian's career was still good, but you could just see like he just couldn't. The WWE just wouldn't let him out of Edge's shadow. Like when he finally won the world title, he lost it like 2 days later. And then basically got like jobbed out by Randy Orton, pretty much doing that whole feud. And now both of them can't wrestle, and they run a podcast together.
Yeah.
So there's that. But anyhow, what do you think of this match and all that stuff?
I thought it was a very good match.
Yeah.
Like you said, like Edge would go on to become a mega star in WWE.
Yep.
He
And
had a really good-
RVD went on to become a decently sizable star too.
Oh yeah.
It's just he just couldn't lay off the weed because pretty much like we make a joke about it now. He still can't lay off the weed either, but he doesn't have to
Loves
now.
it.
So, but yeah, because he lost his main event push in 2006, and basically like we make that joke. They tried to stop him, but he was like, "Yo, I'm just gonna go to another company and just keep doing it." So,
Gonna go to a company.
and now he's in TNA and he makes Facebook Live videos in his gym at like 3 a.m. where he's high as shit. So, pretty damn awesome stuff. And then Lance Storm, basically, funny thing is he's actually a producer for Impact, and I think it's funny because on like the Wrestling Observer, he would go on and like shit on Impact, like booking and stuff like that, pretty much.
Yeah.
So that's pretty damn funny. With Lance Storm, I think had like one final match against Chris Jericho in 2005 at One Night Stand. So there's that. Then Stone Cold Steve Austin and Deborah are backstage, and they just talk about what they're gonna do in the main event, pretty much. And they, I think this is actually I think it's this segment actually where Palumbo and Sean O'Hare actually come up to Austin. They don't do it in the the earlier one. It's this segment actually where they say they want to make a statement for WCW. So
Yeah.
jump the gun on that one. And then I'll let you talk about this match. Spike Dudley and Tajiri with Molly Holly ringside versus X-Pac and Albert.
Yeah. This is a match. This match was okay.
Yeah, it was good.
It wasn't anything special. X-Pac at this point in time was the WCW Cruiserweight Champion.
Yeah.
And he was getting routinely booed out of the building.
Yep.
As a terminology that we later be coined as X-Pac heat. And he's teaming up with fellow X Factor member Albert.
That theme's on such trash.
It's awful. It's really, really bad.
Yeah.
I forget what happens.
One big spot I remember is when Albert did the gorilla press to Spike Dudley like off the apron, and he like
falls.
Yeah,
he was fucking so high up in the air. That was insane.
Yep. And obviously this is gonna lead to the heat spot because like Spike Dudley ain't gonna recover from that for a while. So that's one thing you get to see in Spike Dudley matches. Like he always would take like those crazy bumps. And it's probably the reason like he's got so many concussions and stuff today. But then eventually Tajiri gets the hot tag. He hits the tarantula on Albert in the corner, and they're on the verge of winning. He tags back in Spike Dudley, but then the referee's distracted, and Albert got him in position for that double choke bomb, and behind the referee's back, which I don't really think that was needed, X-Pac hits the not Sean Spears, what's his name? Spike Dudley, off the head with the one of the championship belts. I don't know which one because I couldn't get a good close at it. And he wins. Which I didn't hate the finish. I thought it was quite decent, but it just didn't really make any sense that Albert needed X-Pac to hit him with the championship. He's way stronger and stuff. And he can easily just hit the freaking move on Spike Dudley. And it was like an unnecessary way for heels to like have to cheat to win. Like, you're telling me you needed help to knock the guy out just to like lay him out? Like that I'm not tolerating that crap. So, yeah. And apparently too, Albert's Luke Gallows to me, and Spike Dudley is. So, apparently
Spears.
I mean. The Luke Gallows one makes sense because like they look kind of the same since they're bald, but Spike Dudley and Sean Spears don't even remotely look alike. So, but anyhow, yeah, that match was good. I gave it 3 stars. What would you give it?
I give the same thing.
Yeah.
It was really decent.
And as for where they are today, Tajiri is still wrestling. He was actually wrestling not that long ago in WWE 3 years ago in the Cruiserweight Classic. And pretty much now is wrestling in Japan. And Spike Dudley transformed into Shawn Spears and is wrestling in AEW now. Apparently, in my mind. So, no, that's not right. He owns your favorite company. Or like one of the co-owners. Top World Promotions. Favorite company.
No.
Nope.
Don't you dare say that. We're gonna have some issues.
Which is funny because he has all these concussions and stuff. But the last show I went to, he like took a bump off the cage, so that's weird. And then Molly Holly is a coach at a wrestling school, and we've seen her come back from time to time. She actually went on to become like a women's champion and stuff. And then Albert, in my mind, apparently transformed into Luke Gallows. So there's that. But
transformed.
Albert had like the weirdest wrestling career in a sense because he's had like so many character changes. He went on to become A-Train, and that didn't work. And then he went to Japan and dominated in New Japan, and then he came back and was Lord Tensai, and that kind of didn't really work either. Because like no one believed, like everyone knew he was A-Train and stuff. And remember he beat John Cena and then like went on to job out like later on in the year.
Yep.
And then he basically is now a head trainer down in the Performance Center. I think in the USA version of NXT.
Yep.
So there you go. The better NXT. And X-Pac is pretty much went on to wrestle in WWE until like 2003, and then he left and went to TNA and stayed there till 2010. Yeah, pretty much now he's just part-time. He just shows up whenever the hell he wants, and he owns his own podcast. So there's that. And then Booker T and Shane McMahon are backstage. They're just walking. Like I said, thought something was going to happen, but nothing happened. And then I'll let you talk about this, the Booker T and Shane McMahon promo.
Doesn't The Rock come out here?
Yep.
Just starts insulting him. Basically,
Yep.
The Rock comes out and fucking rips them to shreds.
Yep.
Hilarious.
And Booker T was the WCW World Champion at this time. You know what's weird, actually? He was the last U.S. champion, but he didn't have the title. They just forgot. I'm just saying that they just forgot he was the U.S. champion.
Yep, they did.
But one notable thing is we noticed is The Rock uses the Suffering Succotash line, and it actually got over. Because a certain family member tried to use that line, and it didn't work. So that's interesting. But yeah, this is basically where they set up their SummerSlam match in 2001. And Booker T, up until later, was actually being booked like the best out of the WCW guys. He was laying out The Rock. The only like questionable thing they did is that like when Booker T actually showed up, The Rock made fun of him, saying, "Who the hell are you?" And I say that because Stin references this when he talked about why he never went to WWE. At least at the time when he made that video. So that's Exhibit B, probably why Stin didn't go to WWE. But yeah, basically The Rock just, like we said, buries him. And they get into a fight because The Rock didn't want to wait, until SummerSlam. And The Rock gets beaten down at first, but then he makes a comeback. He hits a wicked spine buster onto a chair, onto Booker T, and then he rock bottoms Shane McMahon through the announce table. And to which I watched this, and I'm like, why couldn't Shane McMahon do this type of stuff for Kevin Owens today?
I know, yeah.
Because if Kevin Owens Think about how much over he would have been if this could have happened more. But yeah, good thing Shane McMahon isn't as like ego driven as he is back then. I mean, back then as he is today, because like the Walk never like the Walk probably like you know, he probably like would have like had the Walk like begging on his knees to like keep his job and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, this was quite good, and it sets up the SummerSlam match, which we found out the WCW Championship. So they could say the WWF owned the WCW title, but the WCW owned the WWF title. When it's like, no, Austin's your guy, and he has the W. Like, think about it. It's like, get enough of that crap. It's enough. And funny thing is, in that Survivor Series match, when the company was on the line, the last two guys were The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Just saying. Then we had the because actually I forgot to break down. William Regal was backstage, and Chuck Palumbo and Sean Spears come in, and they want to be fighting champions. They want to represent WCW. So they say that they're going to give them. William Regal says that he's going to give them, a challenge for the WCW Tag Team Championships. We'll get into that right now. So we had the WCW Tag Team Championship match. It was Chuck Palumbo and Sean O'Hare defending against the Brothers of Destruction with Sarah. Isn't it kind of weird they didn't use the WCW like tag team name even though they bought out WCW? They just decided, nah. It was a squash, pretty much. The only notable offense they get is when either Palumbo or not Spears, O'Hare. Apparently I'm obsessed with
John Spears now.
Yeah. Apparently I'm obsessed with Sean Spears today. But yeah, when Palumbo or O'Hare cracked the Undertaker over the head with a steel chair. That's the only like notable offense they get. It was a squash, and the Brothers of Destruction win when they hit choke slams simultaneously on both of them and win. Kane gets the cover. I obviously love this because it's the Undertaker kicking ass. It's not the Undertaker I like kicking ass, the Dead Man version, but you know, still the Undertaker, so I gotta take it. And you know, this would lead to that winner take all cage match for the WCW and WWF tag team titles where DDP and Canyon got like squashed at SummerSlam. They got squashed, and they got destroyed. It was pretty damn great. I mean, not for DDP, but and then then they lost the WCW tag team titles. And pretty much the Brothers of Destruction really didn't team that much around this time frame. Because Taker got drafted to SmackDown and Kane got drafted to Raw. And because Taker turned heel later on in the year too. And then, obviously the Brothers of Destruction were like two of the biggest names in the WWE. Obviously Undertaker was the biggest name. He went on to back to the right gimmick, the Dead Man gimmick in 2004.
Nope.
And then basically had his undefeated streak at WrestleMania, and he's just become an icon. And Kane scared you in 2003. When he took his mask off, and you were scared of him.
I was fucking horrified.
So you had to run away to Undertaker in 2003 with the American Badass gimmick. Good thing Undertaker was a dead man for you then, or you would have went. Oh, can you imagine too? Like if the Fiend Bray Wyatt like attacked Kane right after the mask, you would have never watched like anything ever again.
I would have never, ever watched wrestling again.
Yeah. But Kane now is the mayor of No, actually, no. Kane's not the mayor of Knoxville. Glenn Jacobs is the mayor of Knoxville. Kane. I guess the demon just goes into hiding. When Glenn Jacobs is the mayor of Knoxville, which is weird. Which is weird. I always talk about it. It's weird that like they like to pretend Glenn Jacobs and Kane, the Demon Kane, are two different people when we've seen like what Kane looked like without his mask on. It's just weird. It's like we're supposed to forget about that. So, and then Chuck Palumbo, believe it or not, was gay the next year, but then realized he wasn't. And then he basically went on to become You know what the fuck? He actually took the American Badass gimmick in a way from the Undertaker, because he became biker Chuck Palumbo, and it was terrible. He had that terrible song that said "You Will Remember Me," and I actually forgot about it.
Remember me.
Yeah, and then Sean O'Hare tried to become like a Christian, or whatever, and then they decided to go away from that, and he was basically out of the. I think he's actually was part of that lawsuit with Perry Saturn like in 2016. So there's that. But anyhow, what did you think? And then Sarah, her and Undertaker got a divorce like shortly after this, and Undertaker had to cross out like a tattoo that he had on his neck. That's why you never get tattoos of someone you really care about, because then you're gonna have to have it crossed out on. If you're gonna get it anyway, don't get it on your neck. But anyhow, what do you think of this match and everything?
I thought it was eh. It was very eh.
Yeah.
Of course they won.
Yeah.
Because they would go on to face DDP and Canyon.
Yeah.
For the WWF tag titles.
Well, both titles. Yeah. And then I give it 3 because it was just so entertaining just to see the Brothers of Destruction kick ass. So, but it's probably so for us it's a 3, but it's probably like for everyone else like a 2.
Yeah.
But but it's our star ratings. We give it 3. So then we had the next stuff's all the Chris Jericho stuff. I'll just break down the first thing because you probably don't remember it. They showed like an OC rewind where they showed like the segment on like Raw where Chris Jericho like threw the pie in Stephanie McMahon's face. And this is when they were doing that whole storyline where like Jericho was making fun of Stephanie McMahon, and making fun of her, because she had the breast implant and pretty much anything. And then Stephanie McMahon's backstage, and Hugh Morris comes up and says he's going to do something about it. And why don't you talk about the match that Chris Jericho and Hugh Morris have?
Squash.
Yep.
And Jericho wins, of course. But afterwards, this is the freaking reason why I chose this match. Rhyno, the big rhinoceros, comes out of nowhere and starts fighting with Jericho and spears him, gores him, I should say, through the original SmackDown set.
Yep.
And that's the reason why I chose this, because it's the last time that they used this beautiful set.
Yep.
Best set SmackDown's ever had, and will always have. I viscerally hate the Fist. I think it's the worst fucking SmackDown set of all time because I love the original one.
Yep. And one notable thing I want to mention is, because we noticed it, Chris Jericho does the Judas effect in this match.
Yeah, he does. About 18 years before he actually did it again.
Yep. I mean, he probably did it again, but this is like before he established it as a finisher.
Yeah.
And we thought that was kind of cool. And we've talked about it a lot. Where in the last retro, it's crazy how Chris Jericho has basically competed against every company that WWE's been competed against. He's worked for all the competition in some way, shape, or form. New Japan now. It's not a competition, but he went over and wrestled the match in New Japan, AEW now. And I'm just waiting for the moment where AEW gets the momentum and is going up against WWE, and he goes back to WWE to try to help WWE get the momentum back. You just know that's coming someday.
Yep.
And
100% is gonna happen.
He wrestled for WCW, in the early years, when it was beating, Raw and the ratings. He was there. And then he wrestled in ECW. He worked with Impact when they did the tour for the cruise. He's worked with AAA. It's just crazy. And you would never think that Jericho would wrestle anywhere else, but WWE once he went over there. It's insane. And now basically he's exposing like WWE's like pretty much creative direction and everything. Pretty much. So it's pretty damn great stuff. And think about it. He is right now the AEW World Champion. Like the first AEW World Champion. That's the biggest thing.
Crazy.
It's also crazy too to think too, like if you watch Chris Jericho back around this time frame, like how different like his character like became like over the years. He was like the best in the world gimmick. He was the list gimmick, the quiet gimmick where he just told everyone to quiet. What else did he have? He had like he's got the New Japan / AEW gimmick, and yeah, he's just crazy. Hugh Morris is best known as Bill DeMott, and all I need to say is fuck you, Bill DeMott, because of all the things he did to the NXT people. If you think about it, he would Bill DeMott could have like prevented NXT from getting as big as it was. With the way he was treated like the performance center like talent. So yeah. But Rhyno too, that stuff was awesome too. Him going Jericho through the set. And now it's like a segment that gets played anytime they do like SmackDown reunion show and stuff like that. It's like one of the first things they show. The only thing I wish is I wish they had Heyman on commentary for this one, because I thought Heyman was on commentary, because if you watch like the video package building up the match they have at SummerSlam, you see when he actually does the Gore, like Heyman's calling it, and I thought he was on commentary for this, but he wasn't. And then it gets weird because then Rhyno's backstage, and like Stephanie McMahon is basically like sexually obsessed with Rhyno. She's basically talking about how she should destroy Chris Jericho, and Rhyno says he's going to do that at SummerSlam. So that was interesting. And he didn't just do it at SummerSlam. He lost. So there you go. And like I said, when you think WCW, I guess ECW think Rhyno, but when you think WCW, you don't think Rhyno. So there's that. Then we had the main event. It was an elimination match. It was the Dudley Boys and Stone Cold Steve Austin versus the Hardy Boys and Kurt Angle. I forgot that Stone Cold Steve Austin had that crappy Alliance music during this time frame. That was awful. Yeah, it was really
awful.
bad.
That's terrible.
Yeah. So immediately Kurt Angle makes Devon Dudley tap out to the ankle lock. And then Bubba Ray Dudley hits the Bubba Bomb on Jeff Hardy and eliminates him. Or it was Matt, I forget. Actually, no, it was Matt Hardy. And Matt Hardy at the time was the European champion. And this is where you question, maybe at this time frame you have way too many championships.
Well, they unified like 3 of them.
Yeah. And I think that's the only time where Bubba Ray Dudley like won a match or like pinned somebody with this move. That I can recall anyways. And then it's just a traditional tag match. It's Bubba Ray Dudley and Kurt Angle versus Jeff Hardy. And no, it's Bubba Ray Dudley and Austin versus Jeff Hardy and Kurt Angle. Of course, they have the thing happen where, Jeff Hardy gets eliminated via the stunner, and Bubba Ray Dudley pins him because they have to have that babyface versus two heels thing happen. And then the rest of it is, Kurt Angle versus Bubba Ray Dudley and Stone Cold Steve Austin. There's a scary spot in this match where Austin's going for the Boston Crab, and Kurt Angle counters it, and the way Austin lands, knowing his neck issues, was pretty damn scary. So there's that. Kurt Angle makes Bubba Ray Dudley tap out to the ankle lock, and then he tries to make Stone Cold Steve Austin tap out to the ankle lock, but the Dudley Boys run back out and attack Kurt Angle because they were building to Kurt Angle versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, the SummerSlam match, because Kurt Angle was pissed that Austin turned on Team WWF. And they beat the crap out of Kurt Angle. The match gets thrown out. Pretty much it was a disqualification. And they hit the 3D on Kurt Angle. They hit the stunner on him. Austin takes a steel chair, puts it around Kurt Angle's leg, and stomps on it. And it's and the Hardy Boys finally run out and fight with the Dudley Boys. What was it, like about 5 minutes too late?
It was like 5 minutes too late. Like, what's the point?
And then
thanks for coming.
Stone Cold Steve Austin, after Kurt Angle was being stretched out, was talking shit to Kurt Angle, basically saying like you're not gonna make it to SummerSlam and all that. And then he goes to extract more damage, but Jeff Hardy tries to make the save, but the Dudleys and the Hardys continue to fight. And that never got. They didn't really do anything with that like feud until Survivor Series. They just let that sit for a while. Then Kurt Angle gets the ankle lock on Stone Cold Steve Austin to like have him like stand tall, even though he was like not really doing much standing after that. But like it was like out of nowhere. And they have to like be pulled. I like how Kurt Angle, they pull Kurt Angle off when he's doing the ankle lock. And I always think this doesn't make sense for like they always stop the faces from like hurting the heels, but when it's the heels hurting the faces, they don't get stopped. Like no one stopped Steve Austin from jumping off that turnbuckle when crushing Angle with that chair. So the match was good though. I gave it 3 stars. But it's also, like I said, it's doing that heel Austin one that I don't like. So it's like, fuck off with that crap. And I guess I like the fact that like both Austin and Angle gained momentum going into the SummerSlam match. A match that ended up just getting thrown out anyways because it was a double disqualification or something. And then Kurt Angle ended up winning the championship, mainly because 9/11 happened, so they wanted to have like a feel-good moment where Kurt Angle won the title. Because think about it, he won the title and lost it like 8 days later, right after that.
Yeah.
So, and then, like we said, Kurt Angle just ended up siding with the Alliance just to be joined with WWF, and somehow Angle was the heel out of it, and Austin was the babyface. That made no sense. Stone Cold Steve Austin walked out not long after this, pretty much, because they wanted him to put over Brock Lesnar with no story behind it. And then he came back in 2003 and pretty much had his last match at WrestleMania 19 and has made sporadic appearances since then. Kurt Angle went on to become like a pretty damn big deal in WWE. He had multiple world championship reigns. Then he went to TNA. Pretty much was won all the championships there, and then he finished out his career in WWE. The Hardys broke up at the end of 2001, and then were back together again in like 2002 because the heel turn wasn't working for Matt Hardy, and the feud sucked. So then Matt Hardy just got drafted to SmackDown anyways, and they ended up having to break up. So then Jeff Hardy stupidly turned heel in 2003, but he was too over to be a heel, so they had to turn him back into a face.
It wasn't even a heel turn either.
Yeah. And then Jeff Hardy left because this was like the first time he got fired because of like drugs and all that stuff. And he went to TNA for like the early part of TNA. And then he came back. He won a ton of IC championships. He had that big push in 2007 to 2008, and even 2009 actually. And then he left, went back to TNA to like from 2010 to 2016, or like 2017 actually. And then Matt Hardy went on to become the most over gimmick in WWE, which you never would have thought of if you watch this match right here, the Woken gimmick, or the Woken gimmick. And they came back, to which Chris loved. He absolutely loved it. And then basically Matt Hardy just sitting around doing nothing while Jeff Hardy's injured. Because apparently WWE doesn't know what to do with Matt Hardy if Jeff Hardy's not involved, apparently. And then the Dudleys lasted until 2005. And they left. They went to TNA. Bubba Ray Dudley had that awesome heel run in TNA. And then they went back to WWE after they reformed. And They had a pretty mediocre run in WWE because they like never did anything. And then Bubba Ray Dudley left, but Devon works as a producer backstage, and Bubba Ray Dudley's like tearing it up in the indies, pretty much. And then that's pretty much that. And then Deborah, not long after this, her and Austin got a divorce. And then those reports got found out about Austin beating on Deborah. And basically Deborah just kind of does her own thing. We haven't seen anything from Deborah like at all in WWE or anything like that. So that's that. And yeah, that's the end of the any additional match.
I thought it was a good match. Very good match. Like you said, 3 stars, and yeah, it's a good way to close out the show.
Yeah, definitely. So now that's the end of you know, the review of August 9th, 2001 edition of SmackDown. Let's do your letter grade. Your letter grade and percentage of that letter grade within, you know, that grade.
I give it a C plus, a 79.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna give it the same. Because it's really hard to give this show in the B range, because even if the show itself is good, it's surrounded by that shitty invasion angle, Austin heel turn shit.
Yeah. And mainly for me, it's that high because of the SmackDown moment.
Yep. But you know, you had like you got to see Undertaker and Kane kick ass in that tag match. You had a pretty good hardcore championship match. You had that decent tag title match. But like I said, it's a good show is trapped in that shitty invasion angle shit. Which is why it's tough to like rate any shows high in 2001 in the WWF, unless it's like WrestleMania 17 or something like that. Because it's in that shitty invasion angle shit. But that's pretty much that. We finally got to do your pick for once too. I feel like we haven't done your pick in like a while, because every time it's your pick, we always have to like take a break. After your last pick was Battleground 2017, would you say it's definitely better than Battleground 2017?
Any fucking thing is better than Battleground 2017. Watching paint dry is better than watching Battleground 2017.
Or vacuuming.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that's pretty much that. So yeah, now we got to do the next pick, and Noah Foster, the Simple Man, he gets the next pick. And Friday we're doing it, which you won't be able to be here for, but that's the day Noah can do it, so we're gonna do it. And now the stipulations are different. It's gonna be anything that has like a Hell in a Cell match or a Hell in a Cell show on it, or a past episode of SmackDown, but that's obviously gonna change after you know, fairly soon. Or a draft show, since you know the draft's coming up. And Noah Foster picked Bad Blood 2004, and he'll tell you why when he's on Friday. So yeah, Bad Blood 2004. That would be. I actually haven't watched. I've seen the match that he wants to watch on that show, but I haven't seen the whole show. So there you go. But that's pretty much it. And now you got to plug and promote all your stuff.
Everything's down below.
All right, so there you go. Yeah, so make sure you just check out everything down below. On the Talkinator, CM Brothers, and this channel. Because we have a lot of interesting stuff coming. So that's pretty much it, guys. And we will talk to you guys later.
Redoing all the classics, you heard it, then I grabbed it. Flow like Method Man, then run like I'm Rabbit. Soon as I hear the bass line, it be my FaceTime. Music's in my veins, so just in case I'm without my iPod or a media player, I'll check my